Hi, my name's Joe Ovsenek. I'm president and CEO of Tudor Gold. At Tudor Gold, we have one of the largest gold discoveries in Canada in recent times. And at Tudor, we're looking at how we take that discovery and turn it into a mine. And that's what I'm here to talk about.
Well, and that's what I'm here to learn about. So, Joe, good to see you. I think I know you've been in this seat, a few months now. But I think I'd like to to try and understand what specifically you brought on to do that maybe the previous management team needed help with. So, can you describe that for me?
Yeah, look, the previous management team did a great job of discovering this incredible deposit. And they'd reached their limits where Ken Conkin, he was our president. He's now our senior vice president in exploration. Fantastic exploration geologist, but he didn't want to run all the boring stuff about moving it towards production. So he's moved over to keeping up with the exploration. We have lots of potential for other things. And I came in with a team. It's not just me. There's a team of us. And our focus is on taking this discovery and looking at how best can we get it into a mine as quickly as possible. And so what are the alternatives and how would we move through those? And that's what we're here to do.
Right. Okay. So, and there's a bunch of moving parts, as you say, and from moving tunnels or proposals to move tunnels. We've got the acquisition of American Creek. We've got the integration of a build team on board, and of course, continuing with exploration as well. So, I think the news of the day. Maybe just start there with your proposal when it comes to the kind of Mitchell Treaty twin tunnels. What's that about? What's going on?
A little background there. Seabridge Gold owns the KSM deposits. It's a big gold copper discovery. It's been around for a long time. The deposits that want to be mined, there's 5 deposits that make up KSM, and they are to the southwest of our Treaty Creek project. To the northeast of our project is where they plan to put their mill facility. We're smack in the middle, and in order to connect up their facility, a milling facility, with their deposits, they need to run approximately 22-kilometer twin tunnels through our property. Now, I don't have any problem. We as a company don't have a problem with them coming through the property. It's just the route they take. The route that they've laid out, and this goes back to 2012, 14. This is, goes back quite a ways. The route they laid out runs right through where our deposit is. Now, the reason this is an issue is our Goldstorm deposit, we have a number of prospects, but our main deposit, Goldstorm, which is this big discovery, 21.66 million ounces of gold in the indicated category. So a nice size. It wasn't discovered until after this route for the tunnels came into being. So the way we look at it, let's just sit down, talk, and work out a solution where we can advance our deposit and you guys build your tunnels. And so we're completely open on negotiating with this. And we look forward to talking with all the parties. And so we put some news out this morning just to make sure that everybody knew what our position was and get it out there.
Right, and ultimately this is going to be about dollars, right? But you will have to back that up with a bunch of work, geotechnical, hydrological, get your 3D geotechnical block modeling done. Where are you with that kind of process, and how long will these discussions go on for?
It takes 2 to tango, so I can't say how long discussions will go on for. But I don't see why, from our analysis of the situation, it's preliminary, that, a shift of a kilometer north, we're actually probably, and we think, make better ground conditions. We're further away from this major fault that comes through the Golden Triangle. So probably better ground conditions, but the same rocks. So from what we can see on all the geological maps and from our surface mapping and that. So there's no reason why we feel that this can't be resolved in the next few months and just come up with a solution that works for everyone.
Right. Now, obviously, what are they, $2.5 billion US, 3.5 billion Canadian market cap company. you are where you are, 400 million bucks Canadian. How do those negotiations go in the province? How do you kind of move those things forward? Because you're going to have to give a sense of, or certainly have an understanding yourselves in terms of the economic or potential loss of economic value. And is there sort of compensation kind of conversations around that, or is this? Do you genuinely think that both sides can come to some sort of, agreement? How does it work?
Yes, I believe that we can come to an agreement. Look, we're approaching this from a bunch of perspectives, and it's in the news release. We have a few proceedings going on in the courts in BC on a few issues here against the province as well as with Seabridge. But, ultimately, the best resolution is to sit down, talk, and work it out. And I think we can come up with something like that. If you look at the region and the potential, and you see where their mill is, and there's something that can be done to make this all work. So I'm quite confident we will have come up with a solution that works for everyone. Maybe everyone won't be super happy, but as long as everybody gets along.
Right. Okay. And so these are, again, as far as the state is concerned, as far as the province is concerned, obviously they want the best outcome financially for themselves as well as you guys in that. So how do you intend to get them involved, or when do you intend to get them involved, or is this genuinely think this is two parties, we'll sit across the table and we'll try and work something out?
Look, we're approaching this from multiple angles. There's the legal
right.
angle, there's discussions with Seabridge directly itself, and discussions with the regulators and the politicians. So we are approaching it sort of like a broad spectrum, just to get everybody on the same page.
Right. Okay. Step away. You guys, there's early stages, in provisional stage at the moment. Let's get into what you're trying to do with the business. Right. We're trying to move from exploration, development, and into production. You've got a build team you brought on board. Can you sort of talk us through who on the team has joined, and precisely what you are tasking them with doing?
Well, we've got Ken McNaughton's with me. He's our Vice President Project Development, and so Ken's looking at how best do we move this forward, and so we have a lot of talks about this, and that's what we talk about over coffee in the morning. And so we have some thoughts, happy to share them with you on how we're moving forward. Michelle Romero's joined us as well. She's our VP External Affairs. A lot of experience. We've all worked, just as background, we all work together at Pretium Resources. So the mine we built, Brucejack Mine, is about 15 kilometers south of Tudor, our property. KSM, we dealt with the guys at Seabridge while we were at Pretium. So we know the players, we know the area, we're quite comfortable working here. So Michelle's come on. She led our community relations and government relations at Pretium, and she's doing the same for us here. We've got Grant Bond, he's our CFO, and just solid financial, because in this day and age you need to have compliance, and so he does a great job of that. So that's the team, and we're assessing. We came in May and we assessed the situation, and we have a path that we want to take things forward.
So where were you when you walked in? What were you inheriting when it came to kind of the advanced development stage? What data were you looking at? What had the company done?
What we looked at was, we've got this big resource, but we knew from, well, look, we've known the people at Tudor for ages, and we shared an office with them for a while, and so we're aware of what's going on, and we know from their drilling and their news releases, we follow them, that there are some nice intercepts within the deposit. It's not just for the Golden Triangle. It's relatively high grade. It's 21.66 million ounces at 0.92 grams per ton in the Golden Triangle. That, when you compare it to, say, our neighbors, is quite high grade. However, within that, there's higher grade mineralization, like 2 to 3 gram mineralization. So what we are looking at is the resource estimate when we came in, that was based on bulk tonnage mining. You go in, log cave, and that. Now, as a team like ours, it's a small team, we've got experience, but we're not building a 150 ton a day mine. That's for big companies. But what we can build is something in that 8 to 10,000 ton a day long hole stope underground mine. And that's where we see our niche. And so we came in, look at the deposit. There's a lot of 2 to 3 gram material, but the model was blocked. If you're familiar with block modeling, they put it together like blocks and it all stacks up, are 10 by 10 by 10 meter blocks. And so what we've done is we've come in and gone to 5 by 5 by 5 meter blocks. And what that does is it gives you, when you have drill holes in a 10 meter block, the grade gets smeared over 10 meters. As it is now, it's the grade within a 5 meter block, so it's not smeared as much. It gives you better definition of the higher grade mineralization. Essentially, you get more pixels. So instead of 1 pixel, you get 8 pixels in a spot. So we've done that, and what we're doing is we're taking that, within that, outlining the higher grade mineralization and estimating within those higher grade lenses of mineralization. Our plan is what we'd like to see. We've got a resource, this update's underway now. Target is to get it out in November. We'll see if we're successful. We'll push hard for November, may drag a bit in December, but we're pushing. The idea is, look, if we can outline 50 to 100 million tons in that 2 to 3 gram range, that's a mine. We would then take a look at it. Can we put a mine plan around those shapes? And if we can, let's move to a PEA, because that's a mine we could build. It's, 250, 300,000 ounce gold producer within the Golden Triangle, minimum sort of 10-year mine life. Those are the parameters we're trying to work to. So that's what we're focused on.
So this tightening of the block model is giving you better, I guess, grade resolution. And in terms of continuity, are you observing anything there?
Yeah, no, look at this. It has these nice lenses of mineralization. When we see our drill strings, you get beautiful numbers right through the heart of it. And so our initial view coming in and looking at things is, we've got these structures that run through the deposit, and wherever you find the structure with the deposit, that's where you have the grade blowouts. And so we're modeling those lenses and looking to put mine plans around them once we get them modeled.
Okay, you showed me some of the SC1 zone structural corridors there.
The SC1 zone is actually on structural corridors, but is a little separate from what we're talking about. We're talking about zones within the actual bulk tonnage resource that we already have. The SC1 zone is off to the side and has potential to be, what we're seeing is quartz stockwork systems within these SC1 structures running through, which is similar to what we had at Brucejack. The difference is at Brucejack, we would have grades in the kilos of gold per ton, and not much in between, while at Tudor, what we're finding in the SC1 zone is we have nice consistent grade where we could average 8 to 10 to 12 grams over these structures. So we don't have enough data to pursue the SC1 zone yet. That's why we're going underground to drill more. This is more main body.
Okay, so the SC1 it's also got that kind of breccia style mineralization going on. So basically not enough data at the moment to kind of work out where there's underground potential there. In terms of the kind of vertical extent of these high grades that you mentioned, I guess that's probably referring to SC1 as well, isn't it? I think. Yeah. Okay. I'll step away from that one. So, but talking about the kind of high grades that you potentially will want to kind of chase, how are you sort of integrating them into the overall kind of block model methodology? How do you capture that?
Well, you have to constrain them. So you set up a domain. Like I'm not a resource estimator, and they don't let me go near rocks. But we're domaining them, so we're putting boundaries around the higher grade. We set a number that we're cutting it off at, say, 1.5 grams, whatever, and we put a boundary that surrounds this higher grade blob of technically speaking, blob of mineralization. And then we estimate in there. So we still have our global resource estimate, but then within these blocks, we have a separate estimate where we're estimating at a higher cutoff.
Right. Okay. And just tell me, I was reading through it before we spoke. I'll show that one. What are the kind of the differences, perfect storm and gold storm, that I need to understand?
I think the big difference, we've got a lot of storms going on.
Yeah.
And so it confuses me as so. Goldstorm's our main deposit. It's been drilled a lot. And the reason why we focus so much on one deposit is prior to my joining the company, we had a 60% interest in the project. Two partners, each with 20% interest. But the trick about it was they were carried through to receiving a production notice to go into production. So that's a lot of burden to carry if you're just going to do a mass exploration. So once Goldstorm was discovered, you want to get into production as quickly as you can, so they have to carry their freight. One of the first things we did when I came on was acquire one of those outfits, American Creek. We now have 80%. We can justify doing more exploration owning 80% and only carrying 20%. So Perfect Storm is very promising. It's just to the southwest of Goldstorm, and we've got a whole, near the end of the program, we've done some drilling there. I think about the 10th hole in hit 100 meters of 1.23 grams per ton gold, plus a bit of silver and some copper, but it's a gold deposit. So great potential for another large gold intrusive body here at Perfect Storm. And then we have the CBS zone again. It's like, pardon me, before I forget, Goldstorm's had 190,000 meters of drilling, and that's what backs up this resource. Perfect Storm has 7,700 meters of drilling, so it's very early stages. And more drilling, we think with more drilling, it will develop into something like Goldstorm.
Okay, fine. Okay, and so Goldstorm's the kind of porphyry domain. So that's what we're looking at, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then Perfect Storm. We'll get back to Perfect Storm another time. And so we're focused on underground block at the moment. Would you think there will be parts of the properties will be open pits? Is that
like my experience is more? I would rather see an underground mine in the Golden Triangle. I know there's open pits planned, but at Brucejack, there's 6 months there where you're constantly clearing snow. Like we had 22 meters of snow, and so that's a lot of snow to shovel. And because you can't, if you're in an open pit and you have a strip ratio, well, if your strip ratio is 3-to-1, well, you're stripping 3-to-1 snow as well. So it's a lot of snow. So underground, you don't worry about it.
These are things you need to think about. Yeah. Okay. And is there a kind of updated mineral resource coming up anytime soon?
Yeah, that's in November. So
November, you said,
current
right?
mineral resource has all drilling up to 2023, which is about 175,000 meters. So there's about 15,000 meters between 2024 and 2025. That will go into the updated resource plus the reblocking so that it's more refined. And that resource is targeted for November.
Okay, so are you at the stage yet where you sort of you've kind of done the kind of key design parameters for the proposed underground ramp, and are you contracting?
Yeah, we will contract out.
Yeah.
We contracted out for the underground work when we were at Brucejack as well. So there's some skilled guys that have the workforce. You're not hiring from scratch. They have the miners on call. They get the job done as efficiently as possible.
Right, and what is the type of work that you need to do, over the next sort of 6 months in terms of, I don't know, assessing rock mass or geochem domain work? I mean, what do you need to do?
The work in the next 6 months is mostly trying to push our permit through. We've got a government employee strike going on right now, so that's not helping the matter. So we've got to get that resolved so that we can get the permit. But what we'd like to do is have the permit by May. And so what we would do in the meantime is work on, sourcing equipment. We need to get the camp upgraded for all year round. So get that, planned out, get the equipment we need to keep that underground going all year round, get the gen sets, the water treatment plant, all that kind of stuff lined up over the week.
Okay. In terms of that, as the kind of, the stope goes underground, do you continue doing kind of bulk sampling and metallurgical sampling until you kind of hit the high grade zones? Is that, again, how does it work?
Yeah, well, we'll sample stuff as we go down. We know we're starting in an area with some mineralization, but because of the way things are, we have to sort of put our portal at a certain location, avoid avalanche zones, and avoid some issues we have with for surface rights with Seabridge. So we're going to go through some mineralization. We'll sample all that. And then after that, we will sample. But, the guys will know for the most part when they're in and out of mineralization.
Right. Okay. And the usual water management, ventilation, as you go. But do you use the kind of the stope as an opportunity to go do additional underground exploration as well?
If you come through areas, you're going to keep your eye on the rocks and map everything. That'll all be mapped and sampled as you go. But really, we want to get down to a place where we can set up our drill stations and infill drill that SC1 zone with, 100, 200 meter drill holes that we can bang off really fast versus the, till now we're drilling 1,000, 1,200 meter holes to hit the SC1 zone. They're expensive, it's slow, and it's hard to direct you've got the torque of the drill and it wanders, right? When you're in tight, you can get nice drill fans that really let you estimate what's there.
Okay, so do you think that obviously that'll impact the kind of drill cost per meter, etc.? And I guess once you're underground, like you say, seasonality it doesn't really matter so much. Okay, can you just in terms of obviously you picked up American Creek acquisition, that's really quite good news. Is there any more kind of consolidation work that needs to happen?
Well, look, I think it would be best for everyone if we're at 100% now. I'm sitting here at Tudor, and so that is. But our partner put out a news release, our joint venture, I guess is the correct term, Tudor Resources put out a news release a few weeks back where they have a bunch of assets because it's been around for a long time. And they were the original holders of these claims. So these claims that we're sitting on and exploring on go back, I think, mid-'80s. And they were the original holders and put them into the joint venture. They have a bunch of other interests, some royalties, some other property interests. They put out a news release saying that they were, spinning those out or transferring them over, and that at the end of the day, their main company, Tudor Resources, will only have the joint venture interest in it. At that point in time, the idea is we'd sit down and talk, and if it makes sense for us, there's always a price. If it makes sense for us, we'd love to consolidate.
Right. Okay. I'll let you have those chats, and I'll come back to you when you've got something to say. I won't push you on that one. In terms of just again understanding sort of the economic opportunity in front of you, what does the last sort of economic study phase say? And how in a market like this do you kind of move things forward?
Well, I think in any market you try to move it forward as quick as you can. The nice thing about this market, there's lots of capital, so you can push hard, and so we will be pushing hard. We have not had any economics done really on this project, so it's a clean slate. We're coming in. What's the best way to get us into production quickest? Now, so we're focusing on this 2 to 3 grams, but look, there's a lot of gold there. We're not going to ignore the rest of the gold that's under 2 to 3 grams. But, first phase to really kickstart mining is, underground, higher grade, smaller footprint mine is the quickest thing to permit, to build, to get going. So that's our focus.
Well, I'm hearing that a lot, right? And there's a few companies that have turned the dial up and moving swiftly forward, and that also means kind of, I guess, cutting past some of the number and time of that economic studies typically take. With what you see in front of you, again, given your track record and giving you a track record in the region, how could a company like you come at this? I'd say, because not just the experience, but access to capital, and the desire in the market to kind of see some new ounces being produced.
Well, look, on the access to capital part, we're getting phone calls all the time from people wanting to place capital. So the world's changed a lot in the last 6 months. So that part's good. From our perspective, it doesn't matter, where you're at. You have to push hard. So you have to set timelines. We're focused. If we can get these, it's still an if because we don't have that resource estimate yet. But once we do have it, and if we have 50 to 100 million tons in that 2 to 3 gram range, we'll quickly take a look at it, whether we can put mine plus shapes around it, push hard for a PEA, try to get that done in 6 months. If that looks good, then you have to move and push harder to get through feasibility. Now, the holdup is the constraint is we'll probably, even though we're indicated, we'll probably want a little more infill drilling in those higher grade pods. We need to get that ramp underground. So the ramp we expect to be permitted, say May. You don't really you don't want to fight the snow, and so by May you have enough snow melted that you're not shoveling a lot of it to color your portal, and then push hard. Probably take us a year to get down to where we can set up comfortably and start that infill drilling. Now the infill drilling won't take long because they're short holes, so 3-4 months we'll have a really good handle, confirmatory. But so that's a year. That's next spring, then another year. So we're a couple of years away from being able to do that infill. In the meantime, we can do all the engineering for say, well, it depends when our resource comes in, but if it's where we think it is, we probably look at 8,000 to 10,000 tons a day. So we'll do the mine design and all the surface design and all that, and get going on the mine design itself, and try to do them in tandem, just to speed things up. Otherwise, if you wait for one thing, then do the other, then the other, it takes forever.
It does take forever, and I get the kind of the urgency is coming across loud and clear here. But you've got to go through things the right way. Getting into cash flow is really seems to be quite an important message in the market at the moment. People are getting rewarded for that, but at the same time, in terms of takeouts, the district scale optionality is still important to the big guys. So how do you, we've heard a few versions of this over the past few weeks and months. How do you view that, getting that balance right?
Well, look at the way we look at it is you just push hard and try to, you focus on what you have and you move it along as quickly as you can. If somebody is looking at this district and saying, maybe I want a part of that, it's up to them to then come in, and the best way to create value for your shareholders is move that project forward and forward and forward. It's more and more advanced, so if anybody coming in, they have to pay for that de-risking that you're doing as you move it along. So it all comes down to risk and the risk levels that somebody looking at the region wants to take on.
Yeah, obviously, good time to be alive, and timing's everything. Sometimes with these projects. Look, Joe, I appreciate the update here. What's the kind of one thought that you'd want to leave people with in terms of believing that you guys, the new team, can be that step change in the fortunes of this company?
I think it's just we've done this before, literally 15 kilometers to the south. So we know the area well, we know the rocks well, and we know the players in the area. And so it's up to us to really look hard at the deposit, come up with a path forward, and then push hard on it. And so over the coming months, we'll be coming up with our, letting people know, okay, we've got a resource estimate. This is what we see. This is what we're going to do. And so that's how we'll do it. And look, we took this role on because we were intrigued by the potential to build another mine close to where we were. And so we didn't take it on just because, we got nothing else to do. We took it on because we were, this is where we really cut our teeth in mine building. And so, we want another opportunity.
Joe, good to see you. Stay in touch.
Yeah, always. Thank you. Bye-bye.